Hey everybody, this is Tony.
And this is Paul. We're coming at you from the Friends for Life podcast, where we discuss the ongoing lives and issues of people with developmental disabilities to spark positive change in the field.
And we have a lot of fun doing it.
Making sure that individuals are reaching the goals they have set for themselves. That's one of the many goals of Assured Health Services. If you're looking for a residential care provider or searching for ADS services, Assured Health is your go-to place. Assured Health, helping others succeed. Learn more at assuredhealthohio.com or call 419-442-8066. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Friends for Life podcast. Thanks for tuning back in today. We have another wonderful special guest, Mr. Scott DeFasel. Did I say it right?
You did.
I did. I've been practicing it. So welcome to the show. Thank you for coming all the way out of town.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paul is a show-off. Because I wouldn't have been able to do that.
But you're in town. You're doing some public speaking here locally, and kind of luckily linked up where you could swing into the studio real quick. So thanks for dropping in. So Scott, before we get into heavy topics that always end up happening, this field just projects heavy topics occasionally. So how did you yourself become a person involved in the IDD field? Because it's not a common path. That's what I was saying. It's like not the most common.
And I think certainly my path here is far from common. So the backstory is the personal connection. My mom actually worked for the Lake County Board of DD in Northeast Ohio for many, many years. So that was my first introduction to the IDD community. But I ended up being business partners with my dad, still am today. Craig is my father and business partner. We partnered together in 2007 doing web design, graphic design, marketing. That's my background and training.
Really?
And for the first decade plus of our partnership, we were not focused at all. It was small businesses, nonprofits, so AKA millions and millions of potential clients in the United States. And we had a number of really core, loyal clients, but a number of them retired or were acquired or moved on to other things, and suddenly kind of woke up one day and realized, I'm not enjoying the work anymore. I'm not enjoying the people nearly as much anymore.
Yeah.
And we were in a really tough spot, and neither of us really had an idea what to do. We just knew that we wanted to work with people who were passionate about what they did. Fortunately, that's the point at which Resident Home Association of Greater Dayton found us and said, hey guys, we could use a little help with our website and promoting ourselves. And we got to know them as we did all new clients. We asked a lot of questions, had a couple meetings to understand them. Everything changed as soon as I asked that question. So what's your greatest need? You know the answer. It was instantaneous. Like I barely even finished. We need more DSPs. And at that point, both Craig and I kind of looked at them and said, okay, so cool. Give us the secret decoder ring. What's a DSP? My mom was on the community employment side of things, and she had retired about 10, 15 years earlier. So we just weren't that familiar with it, weren't familiar with the workforce crisis. We worked with them, helped them get more applicants. And we said to ourselves, we really love this work. They're great people. Let's find out if more people in this field are like them. Because clearly there's something here. And honestly, we just started reaching out, calling providers, consultants, anybody, government, county boards, anyone affiliated with the field, and asking, okay, so, what's your greatest challenge? And kept hearing it over and over again. Okay, so what? Everyone says workforce crisis, but I use the analogy. It's kind of like, well, hey doc, I've got lower back pain.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of different reasons, causes. They can take different forms for different people. So everyone was so giving to us when we were just starting out that it really inspired us. And okay, everyone seems really nice, really happy to help, despite the fact that they're in a really tough situation. There's something here, we can do more. We felt like we were seeing the tip of the iceberg, and that was 5.5 years ago now. So now all we do is work with providers, helping them find and keep more DSPs.
I'm Dr. Craig Escudé, President of Intellectability. State developmental disability agencies, managed care organizations, and providers across the United States use Intellectability's health risk screening tool, e-learn courses, and person-centered training to improve health equity for people with IDD. Visit replacingrisk.com to learn more about how you can employ these tools with people you support.
Friends for Life Residential Care, specializing in support for individuals with developmental disabilities, offers services like adult day support and home health care. Emphasizing empowerment and quality of life, we live by the motto, "My ability is stronger than my disability." We are currently hiring, welcoming those passionate about making a difference. Learn more and explore career opportunities at friendsforliferc.com. Back in today, we have a special guest, Kelly, who is the program manager for Caitlin's Cottage, a respite care facility, which we are excited to learn more about today. So, Kelly, how are you doing this afternoon?
Hi, Kelly.
I am doing great. How are you guys doing?
Excited for Christmas.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can see that looks like a Christmas-esque shirt.
Yeah.
That you.
we have Christmas cookies tonight, starting in about an hour. So we are all festive here.
Jealous. We have no Christmas cookies. Tony, where's the Christmas cookies? Come on, man.
Actually, we got some sent to us from Canada. Yeah, I don't know. I'm networking that much nowadays. I'm getting food from Canada. So,
Well, Kelly, I was looking at Caitlin's Cottage, and it looks like you guys are doing some really awesome stuff. So, before we get into a lot of the more deep questions that we always end up getting into here on this podcast, why don't you let us know a little bit about yourself? How did you get involved with Caitlin's Cottage and the disability field in general? Because it's not a very common path,
Sure. And I don't think that my path was very common to even get here either. My education is actually, I have a bachelor's degree in education as well as one in athletic training, so sports medicine. And then my master's is in health education, public health. So I initially started off really thinking that I was going to be working in athletics and working in the sport field. Interesting enough, I look back at my path and just activities and things that I was involved with, and it was there. Like, to get to this point, it was all laid out there. I just didn't realize it at the time. In my sports medicine world, I took the opportunity to be involved greatly with Special Olympics, and as a clinician, going out to, like, for instance, Sunshine, and helping a physical therapist out there with some of the therapies and things going on. I also spent a lot of time in my educational world working with IEPs and students with learning disabilities. Again, just not really something that I thought I would end up doing. When I went to get my master's degree, it just, because I already had a teaching certificate, they kind of created this interesting educational program for me. And I took a lot of public health classes. So did a lot of things in focusing on just accessibility and adaptations and things like that. So when I started off, I worked as an athletic trainer. And then took some time as a stay-at-home mom to raise 4 kids. And then when I was trying to, think about what I was going to be when my kids grew up, and if my path was still the same, it just happened that Caitlin's Cottage was being built a couple of blocks away from my house. So I just started to see, things going up, all of the information in the paper about the dream for this facility, and immediately reached out and thought, I'm just going to throw my resume out there. I did a lot of volunteering as a stay-at-home mom, working with family supports and stuff like that out there. So it just sort of was like, I don't know what they need, but if my resume matches something, then maybe they will call me. And that's exactly what they did. And they called and said, I don't know where you fit. We have a program manager currently. We have, some other things. But so they initially had created ProMedica. When I say they, I mean ProMedica. They initially created a position for me around family supports. And then it just evolved over time, and I moved into the manager role. So sort of a path that just a winding road. But again, when I look back at just the interests while I was in college and working on my master's degree and just volunteer opportunities and stuff that I did, they really did focus around the special education population, the special needs population. And then I was able to just kind of pull that together here at the cottage. And, certainly my medical background helps. We have individuals that have medical needs. Yeah. And then again, just all of the work that I've done in education and then surrounding people with special needs. So just all kind of blended together and then just sort of learned and created along with Caitlin's Cottage, into my role that I am in right now.
The Reliable Drug and Alcohol Testing Clinic is a leading provider and convenient source of pre-employment and occupational type testing. Their clinic provides services to a wide range of private businesses, healthcare facilities, and municipal and county courts. Reliable is an independent, locally owned clinic. As a result, they provide their services at a lower cost than the major hospitals, have faster turnaround times on test results, and eliminate the long waits typically incurred at these larger facilities. To learn more, visit reliabledrugtest.com. Mr. John Dickerson of Quillo. John, how are you doing this afternoon?
Doing great, Paul, and thanks for having me with you.
Absolutely. We're definitely excited to talk to you because you have some important information with your business and, especially now with how things are running in this field with staff and essentially how they've always been running with staff and the crisis that we're going through. You've got some innovative ways to work through that. But before we get into that stuff, we're always interested to know how you got into the field, the IDD field in general, and you're a veteran yourself. You've been in it for quite a while. So where did that come from for you?
Well, veteran's a nice word for being old. So, I started in the field, Paul, in 1973. I went to college to become a high school football coach and a teacher, played college football in a little school in South Dakota. And when I graduated, there was just a ton of graduates and not a lot of teaching jobs. Mm-hmm. And one of my football coaches was one of the first professors of special education in 1970s in the state of South Dakota. And he said, you should go talk to these people at the ARC, what was then called the Association for Retarded Children. Mm. And he said, they're looking for somebody, they don't have much money, but I think you'd enjoy it. And so I said, sure, don't have a job. And next thing you know, I was working for the ARC of South Dakota, working with young people and getting them involved. My very first day on the job, my boss took me to a meeting and he said, we're going to be going to a meeting about writing the very first rules for mandatory special education in the state of South Dakota. Whoa. 1973. Up until that time, kids with disabilities could not go to public school with their brothers and sisters. Wow. It was up to the local school system to decide whether your son or daughter, brother or sister, got to go to school or not. So that was my first day on the job. From there, I spent a year in South Dakota, which is where I'm from. Then came to Indiana, spent 5 years with the ARC of Indiana, was at the national level for about 5 years, and then came back and spent 32 years as the executive director of the ARC of Indiana, an advocacy group for people with disabilities and their families. I was a lobbyist. I spent my life convincing legislators to fund programs like Friends for Life and beginning to see the changes that we went on. I retired in 2015, lost my mind, I say, for a year and ran for public office.
I know that.
And that didn't end up the way I wanted, but probably the way it should. And then started looking around and was tasked by some friends of mine to say, we really need to think differently about this staffing issue. This is long before the pandemic. Turnover was a challenge. How do we communicate with families? How do we communicate with people with disabilities in different ways? And so I went on this journey of thinking, how could we do things differently? And the result after talking to about 2 years with people, is we launched Quillo, an innovative software platform that's all about the why of what we do and building expectations for a good life, building expectations about friends for life. I love the name of your organization because it's all about relationships, and that's what we're all about at Quillo.
THS Remote Supports is clearly focused on improving independent living through dynamic and personalized services. Their systems have been carefully developed and perfected to ensure that everyone receives the best care through the least intrusive means possible. Located in Cincinnati, Ohio, they've spent over 20 years providing in-home supports to individuals with disabilities. If you or someone you know is looking for a remote service provider, go to thsrss.com or call 513-882-9088.